There's something I've avoided talking about on my channel. It's something really important to me, but I guess I never found the right time to talk about it. It's nothing that I was really trying to hide, but I guess right now is as good a time as any to finally come clean, come out of the proverbial closet, you can say, that I am an anime fan.
Oh my god.
I know. I'm sorry to disappoint my many adoring fans. I couldn't even say that with a straight face. But as an anime fan, I'm used to disappointing people. Just ask my parents. I have been a fan of Japanimation for most of my life now. I've seen trends come and go, the big three rise and fall, well except for One Piece. That series is still going hard to this day. But there's been one vibe that's been missing in a lot of recent anime, and it's left an itch that a lot of series haven't been able to scratch. An itch for violent, over-the-top, odd, and unexplainable. The anime of my youth were wild and violent. Ghost in the Shell, Akira, Ninja Scroll, hell, I'll even throw Dragon Ball Z in there. That shit was wilder than anything my little child brain had encountered before. These Chinese cartoons felt punk rock, cool and stylish, violent and absurd. They were unlike anything else I'd encountered in Western cartoons. Now, I'm an old, jaded otaku, watching seasonal anime, and I constantly feel like something is missing. And until recently, I couldn't really put my finger on it. Anime has changed a lot in the last decade. The rise of legitimate streaming services have also brought a rise to seasonal anime consumption, especially here in the West. I feel like this has made a lot of modern anime feel kinda samey. You might get one seasonal shonen, about 50 new isekai series, a couple of harem series, and then if you're really lucky, one edgelord show for 14-year-old boys to get excited about, and my inner 14-year-old edgelord to also get very excited about. But this January, a series was released that finally scratched that itch for something outside the norm. That series being Sabikui Bisco. Sabikui Bisco is a light novel series written by Shinji Kabukibo. The series was started in the before time in the faraway year of 2018. The series got a TV anime adaptation starting in January of 2022, or as I started calling it, 2020. The anime is made by Studio Oz, a brand new studio run by industry veterans. The director, Atsushi Ikuria, working on series like Akame ga Kill, Kill la Kill, and Steins Gate, and the script was written by Sadayuki Mirai, who worked on scripts on little-known works like Cowboy Bebop, no not that one, The Good One, and Perfect Blue. The story follows Milo, a genius doctor, and Akaboshi Bisco, a mushroom keeper with the ability to sprout mushrooms where his arrows land, as they scour post-apocalyptic Japan in search of the Rust Eater mushroom, likely the only cure to the plague called the Rust that has swept across the land. I know this sounds like a basic fetch quest, two valiant heroes finding the world-saving MacGuffin, and you technically wouldn't be wrong. But if you wrote off the series because of that description, you'd be missing out on one of the wildest rides in a while. Speaking of rides, did I mention the protagonist's mighty steed, Octogawa? Octogawa is a giant crab that sleeps underground, and these two beautiful men stride across the waste on Octogawa's back. And if odd animals are your thing, boy does Sabikui Bisco got you covered. Giant lizards used as horses, slug planes, and don't even get me started on the hippos.
Looks like the bastard called for the damn hippos!
The dynamic between Bisco and Milo is also really good. Bisco is the muscle, a mushroom keeper who's been training and fighting his whole life. He's brash and headstrong. Milo is a gentle and kind doctor, always looking to help people, smart and surprisingly crafty, but isn't always the handiest in a fight. They bounce off each other really well, and their different approaches to situations can be very interesting. But honestly, I can't really say too much more about the story. I'm writing this after watching the first 6 episodes, and the series is still airing as I write this. Maybe I'll revisit the series in another video if it gets a second season, or if the last half of this first season completely blows me away. P.S. I've caught up to episode 8. The series is still great and worth checking out. Sabikui Bisco helped me reflect on what I was missing in my anime diet. It made me think about what else has been able to hit that punk cartoon itch. And the only series that really came to mind was Dorohedoro. Well, Devilman Crybaby 2, but that's gonna get its own video. One day, maybe. Dorohedoro was created by Studio Mappa and released on Netflix in 2020. The release was met with extreme excitement by myself, and maybe a few other weirdos out there, but crickets by the wider anime community. Maybe they were too busy ogling the latest REM figure, or Isekai 2486B was just released and weebs couldn't peel their eyes away from it. Dorohedoro is based off of a manga created by Kyu Hashida that she started in the year 2000, which I found surprising. The series feels like it came straight out of the 80s. The look and vibe of it feels like it belongs next to series like Violent Jack and Fist of the North Star, and not a contemporary of Boruto's dad. The story follows Kaiman, a man with a lizard head, as he searches for the person who gave him his scaly complexion. The lizard head has also given Kaiman a bad case of amnesia. He has zero memory of his life before turning into the middle stage of an animorph transformation. But with no memory, how will he find the person behind his disfigurement? Well, that's elementary, dear Watson. It's so very simple. Kaiman and his friend/caretaker Nikaido hunt down any sorcerers they find, hoping that one will be the culprit. Yes, sorcerers. But how will they know when they found the right one? Well, Kaiman makes sure by chomping down on their head, and the man in the back of his throat will tell the unwitting victim whether or not they were the one that did it. You got all that? Pretty straightforward, huh? The setting of this adventure is great. The story starts out in the Hole, a dark and dingy, dilapidated cityscape, with crime and violence everywhere, and the worst part is when sorcerers come to town. Sorcerers often make trips to the Hole to practice their magical skills on unwitting people, and sorcerers come from the world of sorcerers, which is a bit more held together and a lot more colorful. It still has its slums and such, but I'd prefer an apartment there than in the Hole. The world of sorcerers is run by the crime lord N, and his two enforcers, Shin and Noe, really steal the show. I mean, just look at Noe. Oh god, she's so pretty. I want her to pop my head like a grape. But for mango readers, there is a third setting, Hell, but I'm an anime-only scrub, so the only way I get to see Hell is actually walking outside of my house or turning on the news. This anime is violent and crazy. The dark and grungy setting really helps its punk vibe, but it doesn't lose its levity. Comedy is a really hard thing to judge. It's the most subjective thing in any piece of work, but I personally enjoyed the comedy in this show. I mean, there's even a bug in a baseball uniform. How can you not find that funny? I never felt like the levity got in the way of the gruesome action either. I love the dynamic between the two main couples, Kaiman and Nikaido, and Shin and Noe. Both partnerships are great. They bounce off of each other really well, and both relationships are built mostly off trust and respect. Kaiman and Nikaido are best buds, always there for one another. They fight alongside one another. Nikaido is often the brains, as Kaiman charges in haphazardly, but Nikaido always has Kaiman's back. She also makes sure he's well fed, due to Kaiman's complete lack of skill in the kitchen, but when Nikaido needs help, Kaiman will step up and do the best he can for her. You can say there might be hints of romance. Kaiman does get a bit jealous when another man starts giving Nikaido attention, but you could also read that as like a protective older brother, but I personally choose to see it as a tiny bit of a crush. I mean, I can't blame him. Look at Nikaido, she's beautiful. I want her to beat the fuck out of me. Not in a sexual way or anything. But I could be wrong. I haven't read the manga, so I don't know where their relationship actually goes. But you can tell that Kaiman and Nikaido care deeply about each other, and deeply respect each other as well. The relationship between Shin and Noe is really similar to Nikaido and Kaiman. Shin and Noe are partners in crime, literally, who always have each other's back. But they're not only partners as sorcerers, they're best friends. They're rarely apart, they're pretty much connected at the hip. They're both brash and violent, but Noe is typically more excitable, as Shin is often the more collected one. But the two will do most anything for each other. Hell, Shin even spills his guts, literally, to save her. Those two are always fun to watch on screen, and honestly the only big difference between Nikaido and Kaiman they have is I feel a lot more romantic chemistry between Shin and Noe. But can you blame him? I mean, just look at Noe. And I'll keep looking, respectfully. But the relationship mostly comes down to the trust and respect that they have for each other. Now, here comes the part where I talk about the things I didn't like. The animation can kinda be off-putting to some people. 3D anime can kinda be a hit or miss. Mostly misses, to be completely honest. But I feel like Dorohedoro is mostly a hit. It can look a little rough at times, and some of the models can look goofy at points, but most of the time it looks great. Or the wild energy of the series just grabbed me enough to look past the animation. The 3D models can often lend to more fluid animation, especially when it comes to fight scenes. And I think the series got away with a little bit more violence for a TV anime due to its art style. But I know 3D anime isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I didn't find the animation to be much of a hurdle to get into this series. The other big downside being, the anime only has one season and does not conclude the story at all. Essentially, none of the big questions that the series asks ever get answered. Who was the man with the cross eyes? Why was Kaiman turned into a lizard man? What's En's favorite mushroom? All unanswered. There was 6 OVA shorts that came out after the first season, and Netflix bundled them together as a single episode. Honestly, the OVA isn't anything to write home about. They are stylish, but they're barely animated. There's a tad bit of lore that you get to see. You get to watch devils make sorcerers' masks. You get to see how Nikaido gets her shop. And most importantly, you get to hang out with the most important character in the entire series, the Gyoza Fairy. So, here's my plea to Studio Mappa, please make Season 2 of Dorohedoro. Yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen is cool, Chainsaw Man looks dope as heck, and Attack on Titan is also a popular series you guys are making. But please, continue Dorohedoro. Attack on Titan isn't good enough to be your studio's main focus, and Chainsaw Man can go fuck itself. Actually, Chainsaw Man looks really good. Please make that one as cool as possible, please. And I can wait another year or two for more Jujutsu Kaisen. But Dorohedoro is unlike anything else out there right now. And until you guys continue the series, the story will continue to be lost in chaos.